Notice Mandy's shivering a little bit. She's been out in the marsh here all day. We're at Muskegon. We have quite a crew of duck hunters here. We're waiting for the afternoon flights to come in. It's 4:45. Mick Furbush, you invited us out here for opening day.
Right.
And the Muskegon, this is the backwaters of Muskegon Lake?
This is the upper end of the Muskegon River is where we're hunting at right now, yes.
Okay, opening day of duck season is quite a time because that's the best time to hunt. In fact, your cousin, Fred Lang, came all the way from Florida, Fort Myers Beach, Florida. Okay, to come up here for opening day. We'll introduce the whole crew here. We have Doug Burnt. You're from Muskegon?
From Muskegon, right.
Oh, they're coming in. The ducks are starting to come in right now. And we have about, 2 hours and 15 minutes here or so.
Right.
Until
they're starting to bang over in the back of us here.
They sure are. We're going to get ready here, but we're going to do the setup. Ed Groves, your first time duck hunting.
Yeah, this is great.
This is great.
I love standing in all this water, Fred.
Yeah, that's right.
Fun.
And my son, Zachary, this is your first duck hunt with your brand new shotgun you got for your birthday.
Yeah.
How you like it so far?
It's great.
Yeah. Let me tell you about so far. Mick Furbush, when he called us up and we started arranging this hunt, we said, Mick, how's the water situation? You said, well, ankle deep stuff.
Ankle deep. Right, ankle deep stuff, Fred. And obviously you can see that the Muskegon River system has done it again to us.
That's right. We walked in. OJ, swing around over to the woods there. Show where we came from. We've been walking through this stuff for about 20 minutes, very slowly, and the camera we have right here on a duck nesting box.
Yeah, Michigan Duck Hunters Association put them duck nesting boxes in, and that's a typical duck nesting box in the marsh here.
And this is what we're using to hold the recorder, our tape, and this microphone has only been dropped in the water once, but we found it. We're kind of nervous, and OJ's a bit nervous on the other end of that camera, but we're going to try to bring you some duck hunting action, show you what opening day duck season is like, so you stay tuned. It's Thursday night, time for Michigan Outdoors.
From the rugged shore and woodlands of the north, its history of copper mines and iron ore, the Great Lakes fisheries. To the farmlands of the southern counties, we'll look around again at all that waits the sportsman in the state of Michigan.
The afternoon flights haven't come in yet, but Mick, you're holding what you got just a couple hours ago. That's a prize and a half.
This is Doug's goose, by the way. It isn't mine. I was off waiting for Fred Trost when this flock of geese come in. But this is typical also of the Muskegon Marsh. We shoot several of these usually a year. Last year we shot 73 of them down here in this marsh, the fellows that hunted with me, so we had an excellent season here.
Okay,
this is one of the giant Canadas that have been replanted here in the Muskegon area. It weighs about 10.5 pounds.
Wow, that's some good eating there.
Excellent eating, yes. Very, very good.
20 of them. 20 of them.
You're right.
Right over the top.
Just over a tree line
coming
there.
this way. Coming this way.
Well, they appear to be coming this way, but they might make a big swing. They might make a big swing around.
They're starting to move anyways. They are coming this way.
Yeah,
they are. Calling ducks is one of the tricks of the trade. Which one of you guys is the best caller?
Oh, I don't know. I kind of pride myself in it a little bit, I guess. I've been at it for 25 years, so it makes a lot of difference, I suppose.
Well, my calling prowess, is not that great.
Right.
It isn't that bad once I get warmed up.
It sounds typical of what I hear out here in the marsh, right? Yes.
Okay, but I got some instruction down at Point Mouillet, down at the Duck Hunters tournament.
Right.
Bob Jarrett, do you know him?
Right, I know who he is, yes.
Okay, well, he's a top-ranked duck caller and all.
Right.
Just want to cut in right here my duck calling lessons that I got a couple weeks ago down there. The first call that you make to attract the ducks from a distance is the hail call, the high ball.
Right. High ball or hail.
And it's very long the way these duck, and yourself, you do a very long hail call.
We've sat in the marsh and we've got on tape and we really listened to it. In fact, one fella has a tape of it where we've counted the calls on a hail of being around 16 to 18 actual long calls like that when she's calling a flock of ducks. It actually happens in the marsh. That's quite an experience to hear that. And I think that's where our duck callers pick it up from.
Now, a feed chuckle. little chuckle sound.
Right.
You're trying to imitate the sound of a number of ducks feeding or just one?
No, they're really trying to imitate the one duck at a time. As a duck dabbles or her beak is in the water, it's partially in the water, out of the water, and that's where you get that garbled, gurgle sound that she's making, and she's very content, and she's moving her head from side to side, so you get that chuckle chatter situation in there.
And then the other call they judge on is the lonesome call.
And a lonesome call is when a hen is sitting by herself. She's very content. Just one long quack. She's very content and very comfortable doing what she's doing. And that's a nice call to get ducks when they're out a little ways from the decoys and you want to get them in. Just a little quack, trying to attract those drakes to come swimming over to see that female.
But of course, it's not breeding season, and for those people who aren't duck hunters and duck callers, they wonder, why are you always imitating the hen?
Well, the hen is the one that does most of the, in fact, she really does all of the calling. When a flock of ducks comes in, you will hear the mallard maybe quack once in a while, but for some reason in nature, and I guess with our own human characters, the lady does all the lady does all the talking, and so do the ducks.
Maybe you better just say the drake can't get a quack in edgewise.
That's probably true. Very true. That's why we imitate her.
Okay, well, Bob, you are the president of the Point Mouillet Waterfowlers.
Yes, very proud too. Very proud.
One of the originators of the originating clubs with the Trenton Sportsman's Club?
I'm kind of a new member of the club. I've been a member about 8 years, and when High passed away, we had an election, and I guess I was very fortunate one to replace him, which is quite a pair of shoes to fill at this point.
Right.
Kind of proud of it.
You're a pretty good duck caller? Are you an excellent duck caller?
An average duck caller. I compete a lot. I haven't won any trophies yet, but I sure have a lot of fun with the camaraderie of meeting other fellas and being a part of this thing.
Well, this call you're using looks brand new. I would have thought you'd have a seasoned call from the marsh.
Well, when we walk around at a tournament or something, we like to have something that's very attractive. I guess it's part of the appeal. It's like having a bow tie on, looking dressed up. When we hunt, they're painted black and scratched and everything else like all the duck hunters.
Okay, now, if I may try it.
Sure may.
Correct me if I'm wrong. This is high-pitched.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can't.
Well,
this is different than the one I've used.
You're putting a lot of air from your throat rather than from down here in the diaphragm. And it takes it.
Is that better?
No, it's still too high.
How do you do it? You can get a lower note than that?
Yeah, you get it from down in the diaphragm, and the whole body reverberates really through the call.
Let me try
Choking off the air.
Better tone?
A little bit better.
Trying to do more of this diaphragm stuff.
That's right, down from in the belly. We'll have to give you some lessons, Fred. I can see that.
I can see that right now. Let's cut the camera off, and I'm going to get serious about duck calling. What do you think, Mick? About
very good feeding call. Very, very good feeding call.
I kind of think I do a good feed chuckle.
Very good feed call. Yes, very good. Very good.
Okay, I've been practicing. I worked on that. I'm not so great on the high ball, and those things are a little more difficult. But that's one aspect of duck hunting that really makes it enjoyable. You can really bring the ducks in with the calling.
Yes, very much so, Fred. And that's what amazes a lot of people that hunt with me that has never done it before or has never been around it, such as your son and Ed there. You know, when you actually see a duck come down into a stool of decoys and watch a good retriever work, it's well worth the money to see. It really is, and it's a lot of fun.
Get it, boy.
All right. You got that. Good. Nice shot.
Okay, now the decoys we have out here, you just have a handful.
Use a handful because primarily that's what you're going to find in a marsh pond such as we're setting on right here. You're not going to see a big raft of ducks and deeks sitting in here or any other ducks other than maybe some teal or some gadwall and widgeon, which we should see later on today, yes.
You have a portable blind, chicken wire with, you just probably put this together.
I put them together each year, you know, and then we haul them around, and now what I do is I roll this up and I'll put it up in the grass here where I know where it is so I can get at it each time we come out. Right.
The guns we're shooting, this is a steel shot zone. All of us have guns that are plugged, either plugged or they only hold 2 or 3 shells.
Right.
So that's a federal law. Waterfowl hunting is highly regulated. The types of ducks that we're shooting, there's a point system. black ducks, like we talked about a couple weeks ago on the show, are 100 points.
Right.
One duck and you're done for the day. Teal are 10-point birds, so you can take 10 of those.
Right.
Their population just come back year after year.
This is a teal here, a very, very small duck. For the viewers who've never seen them before, they are very, very small ducks. Excellent eating, though. They are very. This
two types of teal, and this obviously is the green-winged teal. You can see the iridescent band right there, but they duck and dodge. I like teal. This recipe that I have, 12 minutes in the oven.
In fact, when you go back today, Fred, you're going to have some teal.
That's great. Sounds good to me.
Come in with it. Come in, Mandy. Come on. Come in with it, baby. Come on, honey. Come on. Come in with it. Come in with it, baby. Good dog. That's a good doggy.
Oh, that's pretty, isn't it?
That's a good doggy, Mandy. It's a good doggy. Good doggy. Give.
All right.
Give. Good girl. Good dog. Good dog.
Now, you notice one thing that Zach and I have that you fellas don't have. You're all hanging onto your guns, and we have, you ever seen these before, these super slings?
Right. I seen them while I was over at the duck clinic over in Davidson last month, yes.
We had up at our outdoor fair in Houghton Lake, we had the fella come from Wisconsin who makes these, manufactures and sells them. They're called a super sling, and when I listened to his pitch, of course, he's a real salesman on these, but I was convinced.
If you're a right-hand shooter, you put it on the left side of the barrel, just bring it down, and make sure that this is underneath. Now, you have to jerk it down because the rubber doesn't slide very well against itself. And then you make sure that it's straight. You do the same thing on the opposite end. You open it up. You slide it right over the end of the stock. Get it down there and snug it up good.
Well, I can see right now an advantage is you could put this on all of your guns.
Any
if you're
gun,
a duck hunter,
rifles,
deer hunter.
shotguns, anything. Now, when you carry it, when you're hunting, this is the way you think you should have it, just like this. When you're ready to shoot, you just pull up and shoot. Now look what it does to the gun. It really steadies it.
Yeah, it does steady it.
It makes you a better offhand shot. But the thing is, you're always ready. See? Now, if you want to carry your decoys, put it on your shotgun. Both hands are free. In our country, we climb trees, and that makes it pretty nice because it never falls. If you're on the stand, you don't have to hang on to the gun all the time. If it's cold out, you keep your hands in your pockets. When the buck comes, you just up and shoot. Here, try it, Fred.
There's two way out. There's another group.
Oh, right up here, right up here.
Well, we sat in the marsh that afternoon. We had some difficulty, very frankly, due to the presence of the camera and the mob that we had out there in the marsh. So the ducks didn't tend to come as close. Another problem was, you see the beautiful sunset, the great bluebird afternoon. Well, that's a difficulty when you're waiting in the evening for the ducks to come in, because they generally come in as it's getting dark. If it's a bright, sunshiny day, they come in later, and the shooting hours cut off at legal sunset, and that happened to be at 7:14 that night, just after the sun disappeared over the horizon. We saw some ducks. Mick got some ducks earlier in the day. We have a recipe coming up. A lot of taxidermy and wildlife art is based on ducks and duck hunting. Quite a tradition, quite a fascinating sport to get into. Not as many duck hunters are into it as were in the past. There's a lot of bow hunting going on in the state right now. There's grouse hunting, all kinds of things to do. And don't forget fishing. Very few anglers are out in the waters of the Great Lakes and the inland lakes and the streams that we have in Michigan, but we do have some big fish caught in October. Let's go to our trophy report right now of big trophy master angler fish caught last year in October. Well, one angler caught a master angler bluegill last October. It was taken on the 25th at 7 p.m. on a waxworm in Berry County. That bluegill was 1 pound, 2 ounces, a foot long. That was on Warner Lake. Now, a Great Lakes brown trout was caught on the 4th of October last year at 11 p.m., probably by a salmon fisherman on the Grand River in Kent County, casting a Cleo, 14.5 pounds. That brown trout was classified as a Great Lakes brown because it undoubtedly migrated in from Lake Michigan. But an inland brown trout was taken on Higgins Lake. Master angler, 11 pounds, 2 ounces, caught by Gary Spiegel of Ross Common. He caught that on October 27th at 9:30 in the morning. Now, a channel cat was taken down in the Black River on a minnow. That's St. Clair County on October 4th. That's just about the duck opener. Ron Van Duren from Port Huron caught it 9 pounds, 12 ounces. Nice channel cat. A lake trout was taken on spawn up in Little Traverse Bay around Petoskey, Lake Michigan, Emmett County. That was on October 26th. Caught at 6:15 in the morning. again on spawn, a dandy lake trout. Another nice lake trout was taken, interestingly enough, on the Grand River again in Kent County. It was on the 30th of October. On glow spawn, a steelhead angler evidently caught a 17-pound, 12-ouncer, and that's another trout that came in from Lake Michigan. Now, October is bass month. I'll tell you, look at this. On the 3rd of October last year, a nearly 7-pounder caught by Bob Hull of Davison. Caught it from Lake Nipissing on very popular bait, a spinner bait. On the 5th of October, Michael Mullally from Chelsea, fishing Portage Lake in Washtenaw County, also used a spinner bait, took a 6-pound, 6-ouncer, 4:30 in the afternoon. On October 14th, Vernon McCaffey Jr. from Elkhart, Indiana, was fishing Fish Lake, Cass County, again using a spinnerbait, 8.5-pound largemouth bass. Then on the 23rd of October last year, Brian Case from Jackson, using a crayfish deep diver, Berry County, Leech Lake, at 2 in the afternoon, caught a 6-pound, 3-ouncer. And the last October master angler bass last year was also caught on the 23rd of October, 6 pounds, 13 ounces, 22 inches long. Tom Sturgeon from Burton caught it on Lake Nipissing. He used a spinnerbait. 4 out of 5 of last year's October master angler largemouth bass were caught on spinnerbaits. Might be a good tip for you to try as an alternative to some of the hunting we have this October.
Fred, those are some great October fish. You know, the only trouble with October, though, is you just need more days in the month of October in order to get in all the hunting and fishing. But some good news for hunters this week. Many of you hunt in that grayling area. In fact, that's kind of the breadbasket of the deer population through the state of Michigan. And there was an attempt earlier by the Department of Military Affairs to take away about 150,000 acres of DNR huntable land and use it for ranges, that sort of thing, for training National Guard troops. We do have word this week that that plan has been put on hold. That land apparently is not going to be transferred, although 15,000 acres of it might be fenced in order to aid in public safety. There are unexploded shells, that sort of things around. But the big transfer is probably not going to take place at this time, and we'll keep you up to date if anything on that changes. Handgun hunters, great news for you. Southern Michigan handgun, and in Southern Michigan, handguns may be allowed if a bill that just passed the subcommittee on hunting and fishing in the House of Representatives passes later this year. There may be a possibility this could be in place by deer season, although it's a slim one right now. Now, put-take groups have formed all over the state. In fact, they made a big impression last week on the Natural Resources Commission. Put-take groups that want to see put-take remain in place have formed in the Midland, in Pontiac areas, and also in the Lansing area. If you're a put-take hunter and you want to get a hold of one of those groups to have some input, let me know. You can call me or write me here at Michigan Outdoors. And now, I usually don't tell people this, but I'm going to tell you some place where you can go to see a cock pheasant next Thursday on opening day of the pheasant season. And the word is that the Department of Natural Resources in Southern Michigan on rec and game areas will release upwards of 10,000 rooster pheasants for the opener next Thursday. So that would be a good place to start on the public lands for a switch in Southern Michigan in order to have a very successful pheasant hunt. And that's what's going on pretty much in the outdoor headlines.
Sounds good, Bob. A lot of opportunities, but you know, you can't beat private land in Southern Michigan when it comes to these big deer. Greg Evans. Greg, congratulations.
Thank you.
Greg has been hunting 4 years with a bow. Well, look at this. How many points?
Well, 15, I guess. if you count,
That's right.
you know,
What do you mean, if you count?
the small ones. I got small ones.
You gotta learn to be a deer hunter, Greg. 15 points.
If it was my buck, Greg, I'd
That's right.
count them.
Count them all. 15. We can measure it up for our big buck contest. We're going to have a big buck night December 8th. Hopefully you'll be there with that
All
when
right.
you'll qualify. Tell us the story, Greg. Let's just leave it at Monroe County, private land.
All right. I left there, went there at 7:30 in the morning. I got there about an hour before that. And I had these 5 bucks walk across this clover field to me.
5 bucks in a group?
Yeah, that's all together. And this one was leading the way.
Was this the biggest?
I believe this was the biggest.
You believe?
Yeah.
You mean the other
two
bucks
was
were
close.
comparable?
They was close.
Jeez.
And
Just once that should happen to me, Fred, you know?
Yeah.
this was the lead buck, so I took him. I shot him about 35 yards away.
And what kind of bow do you use?
I got a Browning Explorer, too.
Compound?
Yeah,
What poundage?
55 pounds.
Wow. One shot
One shot.
did it, and how far did it go?
I shot him about 35 yards. He ran probably 100 yards before he died.
Boy, how big was it? What did it weigh? Do you know?
150 field dressed.
That's a good-sized deer, but a good-sized rack. And, of course, this could be a relatively young deer in southern Michigan.
Oh, yeah, it could be. And although it's with the rack the way it is, it really must have suffered some injuries or something.
Well, it's a non-typical rack. Look at the formation here of the tines. You even have, yeah, well, this is no, that's a main beam there, I guess. But these are forked. Oh, it's a...
He's lost one here, too. That's something.
Oh, 16 point. Huh?
I'll call it that.
Oh, that's great. Private land, you were hunting from a tree, from the ground where?
I was hunting from the ground. Yeah.
You always hunt from the ground?
No, I usually hunt from a tree stand, but my buddy Rich, he was hunting from the tree stand that day, and I was on the ground. And they happened to come my way.
Hmm.
So,
You spend a lot of time bow hunting?
yes, I'm laid off, so I spend a lot of time out there.
Well, that's what you call a mixed blessing in October. Really. That's, sorry to hear about the layoff, but geez, you got a great buck here. You've deer hunted for 4 years. Do you study deer hunting a lot?
Yes,
bow hunting?
I go out there during the summer, too, and watch them.
Well, you know, with those 5 bucks in a group, that tells me that the rut has not started, because those bucks, if they were chasing does or their hormone levels get up like they will in maybe a week or two, even by now, they're not going to be together.
Right.
They're going to be fighting and competing for the does. That's going to be the time, another week or two.
These were fighting a little bit.
Oh, they
out
were?
in the,
Well, they do that.
Yeah.
But they're having fun. They're warming up.
Yeah.
Gets real serious in another week or two. Greg, congratulations
Thanks a
on
lot.
that buck.
That's
Eddie,
great.
Thanks.
you got to get one of these one of these days.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would like to take a closer look at that.
Oh, that's
How about
super.
one of these for your first one, Ed?
Okay,
Yeah.
you
Boy, that'd
talk
be
me
all
into
right.
it.
Well, there's a lot. If we haven't already announced enough that's happening, why don't you lay a little more on us?
A few more things, the Michigan Outdoors Outdoor Calendar. There's a handgun metallic silhouette shoot this weekend in Langsburg and Kalamazoo. If you'd like more information on this or any event on our calendar, call Bill Swagler at the Michigan Travel Bureau, and Bill will give you the local number of the club or organization sponsoring the event. You can call him weekdays toll-free at 1-800-292-2520. You can find a trap shoot on Saturday at the Howard Township Conservation Club in Niles. And our deer hunters workshops are in progress, with the next one in Marquette at the Negaunee Township Hall on October 27th. Glenn Dutterer and Fred will take you through the world of whitetail deer hunting, how to properly field dress your deer for food and trophy, how to use knowledge of deer behavior to increase your chances. Commemorative bucks of Michigan will be on site to measure your rack, and if you bring in the largest rack measured at the workshop, not previously measured, you'll receive a Michigan Outdoors limited edition wildlife print. Tune in to Michigan Outdoors in the weeks ahead for a date on a workshop near you. And that's the Michigan Outdoors Outdoor Calendar.
And one of the greatest events of all duck season, Bob, we have right here, roast duck. This recipe is one, many people think you got to cook wild game for days.
That looks
Kill the
good.
wild. You know how long this was in the oven?
About like a pheasant, an hour or so?
12 minutes.
No.
12 minutes,
Come on.
550 degrees. Take it out of there. I'm going to explain it to everybody how I made this. I got this recipe out of a Field and Stream. Ted Trueblood says it's the only way to cook. These are teal. These are teal that we got on Saturday, opening day. So go ahead and just cut off of the breast is where the meat is. Remember, that was 12 minutes. Now, here's how you make this recipe, folks. Simplest thing in the world for ducks, and it's delectable. It's just like roast beef. We're going to take I like green onions. You can use just regular white onions or yellow onions, but I take green onions, chop them up about this size, put them in a little roasting pan like this. Green pepper, maybe one whole green pepper, chop it up, and this will go for 2 or 3 ducks. And the celery, I like to leave the leaves on the outside of the celery too. I think that adds a little flavor. There is our basic stuffing. Add to it only 3 things. Some sage, and you can do this to taste, but put a fair amount of sage, some pepper. I like pepper, so I put quite a bit in there, and some salt to taste. That's the stuffing. Mix it up, and of course we stuff the duck. How you doing on that, Bob?
Well, it's a little bit tough to cut up.
Tough? You mean difficult?
Difficult to cut up.
Okay.
Oh, it's certainly not tough, Fred.
Okay, no, it isn't tough by any stretch. Here, what I'm going to do is take this duck here, and this is a teal which I've plucked. And this recipe is designed for ducks which have been plucked. You can see all the fat on the outside, considerable amount of fat, and I'm going to stuff the teal. Let's see, do we have need a fork for you here, Bob? Oh, you got one there.
One, yeah.
Okay, well, try a taste. Can't wait to hear what you think about this. Most people say, can't believe that this is done
Okay, here we go.
in just 12 minutes. How is it?
You know, it's funny. It tastes just like beef.
It does. It absolutely tastes like beef, folks, like roast beef, prime rib. This is how we stuff it, like that. Set it on the bed of dressing. That is difficult to cut up, like Bob mentioned, because you're dealing with, it's almost like a football.
That's right.
And it rolls around. Try this breast right there.
Okay.
Take that out, and what this is just the breast. Let me show you how I did that. Take a pair of shears. This pair of shears, Berkeley came out with these things. They're a fishing tackle company, but they came out with these, and I find that they work great on birds, on fowl. And I take the duck and cut around the ribs, because you're not going to find really any meat to speak of on the back of a small duck like a teal. I cut right through and I leave the legs on because there is a little meat there in the legs. There it is. This is really the meat on a wild duck. And I take it and set it right on there. That looks a little more well done.
Oh, yeah, it does, and it's a lot easier to cut too. It's just like filleting it.
What we do is we take this, pop it in the oven, 550 degrees for a teal, 12 to 14 minutes, no more. A mallard, we're only talking 20 minutes.
For a mallard?
For a mallard, that's all. 550 degrees. And if you taste this stuffing, it's crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
The celery, the onions, the green pepper, isn't that great? If you would like a copy of this recipe, folks, and honestly, greatest duck recipe you've ever tasted by Ted Trubled, write to us. What's the address, Bob? I'm going to get over to do the weekend forecast.
Michigan Outdoors, Box 1, East Lansing, 48823.
Be sure to stay tuned to Michigan Outdoors every week for outdoor news. But right now, honestly, if you want to know the outdoor conditions, how the fishing and hunting is going to be like, you have to look outside and see what the weather is. Check the temperature. It can change in a matter of hours at this time of year. The Upper Peninsula has had some cold weather, some cold temperatures. That's taking the leaves off the trees up there. Southern Michigan, this hasn't really hit us yet the way it's going to, but it's going to change the whole complexion of the hunting scene. When the leaves come off the trees, the deer behave differently. They go into their winter patterns. Ducks, we still have teal. We still have the summer patterns of ducks in the marshes. Pheasant, if you're going hunting a week from today, pheasant season, don't forget those state game areas at state land. 10,000 pheasants are going to be planted there. Roosters for Thursday, so you can't beat that. Fishing in the inland lakes and the Great Lakes, well, I tell you, it's great. That's all I can say about it, because you saw our trophy reports, and we're going to have another one next week on fish caught in October. You're going to be amazed. But most people, I got to admit, myself included, are too busy out there catching the very few days we have at hunting, Bob.
There's not enough of them.
It's the only time of year, guys, that you can get wild game to put on the table, legally. So we only have a few weeks. Now, Greg, you said a while ago, no thanks, I don't care for duck.
Yeah.
You've had it, you don't like it, right?
Tastes fantastic.
It does.
Yeah.
Does it taste like duck?
It tastes like roast beef.
Oh, we didn't tell you to say that. What do you think, Mike?
It's good, really delicious.
Let's get some, Ducker, Mark, come on in here. Phil. I love giving wild game to our studio crew. Try it out and tell me what you think.
It won't be there
Because
for long.
really, they wouldn't jive us, son. What do you think, Mark?
Tastes like beef, Bob. What do you think?
It sounds like a setup, but that's really true, isn't it?
Delicious.
Try this stuffing.
I was, when you told me 12 minutes, I couldn't believe it.
That's all it takes. And